Well, welcome back to the Ask Pastor Jay podcast, the podcast where we ask questions of Pastor Jay about live current events in the Bible. My name is Doug, and I'm on staff here at the church, and this is Pastor Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hello, gentlemen.
Welcome, Tony Demakis.
Hi, Doug. How are
Glad
you?
that you're here. Tony is one of our AWANA commanders, and he co-leads our Bible club on Wednesday night for kindergartners through fifth grade. Tony, can you tell me what excites you the most about being a leader in AWANA?
The thing that excites me the most about being a leader in AWANA is being able to see the kids every single week and see them grow in their faith. I feel like there's nothing that's the same as hearing children say verses. Like you hear adults say verses, and then listening to children say verses is a whole other magical thing. And then being able to sit with them and not just have them memorize it, but say, do you know what this word actually means? And they say no, and then be able to break down the words with them and just have those discussions and just have those relationships and just remember how passionate Jesus is for the children, and just being able to see them grow every single week. And then the parents coming and coming to know Jesus and our church.
Cool. So how long have you been a leader?
10-ish years, I think.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
What's really cool for me is the kids that are now freshmen, sophomores in Nexus were my first sparks. So
that's
really?
That's very fun. That's very fun.
Yeah.
Well, other current events that are happening here on campus. Last weekend, we had something called a membership class. And Jay, you helped lead that. Can you tell us about what happened last weekend here on campus?
Yeah, we do these a couple times a year. And we had 42, I think.
42.
42, not counting Becky, Pastor Gabe, and myself. And Kevin Wagrin came, one of our elders. So it was a full room. We met in where our Meridian ABF class meets on Sundays, and it was full. A lot of these are people who are interested in joining the church. A lot of backgrounds, a lot of former Roman Catholics, smattering of former Pentecostals. That was really interesting. And some mainline folks, and then some unchurched folks. So one of the things I like about the membership seminar is one of the reasons I've held on to it as senior pastor. I love meeting new people. I love hearing what's coming in the front door. I love hearing their questions, although some of the people that are in the membership seminar have been sitting in the church for a long time. But a lot of them are new, and it's just fun to interact with them. It's doing it with Pastor Gabe's great. Having Becky there, she just flits around and talks to people and hugging and crying with people. And it is always a really rewarding Saturday morning. It's 3 hours, and we cover a lot of stuff in 3 hours. And it was a lot of energy in the room the other day.
And these are people who tend to be excited about what's happening at the church. That's why they're there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're people who are fully kind of engaged with what's going on and are excited to come in, and they sense that. Sometimes you'll get barbed questions. None the other day. There was zero. But a ton of questions. They're fun to answer. They're on every topic imaginable, from our finances to our theology to how come we don't do this, to why do we do that. It's a blast to stand there and just answer questions and have kind of ping pong all over the place.
Well, maybe next time we should record that for another segment for Ask Pastor Jay. I mean, you're going to say something, Tony.
Yeah. Do you feel like people don't understand the importance of becoming a member? Like, they come to the church for a long time and they go why do I have to become a member of this church? What does that actually mean to do that thing? Because I think it's really important. We've talked about that as a whole, but do you see that as a lead pastor, that people don't understand the importance of the actual membership and the difference between being an attender and a member?
Yes. It would be helpful if there was a verse in the Bible that said, thou shalt join the church. There's not. But when you look at the New Testament and the letters from Paul, especially, it's hard to walk away without seeing the concept of membership there. The implied impact of it. I mean, it's being all in with the local church. And the membership bar is so low anyways. Our goal here is to keep, by the way, keep membership bar low, leadership bar high. Membership bar is sharing with a couple elders that you know Christ as Savior. You've been to the membership seminar and you agree with the doctrinal statement. That's about it. It doesn't take much. I think that should be mandatory for anybody that's sitting in the church that's been here for a while, because it's more than, it's putting you're saying, I recognize this as a healthy local church. I'm putting myself under the leadership of this church. And I do agree with this doctrinal statement. And otherwise, why are you there ultimately?
Do you feel like there's just like misconceptions, people's own unjustified ideas of what they think membership is going to be like? They're going to want to know how much money I make. They're going to want to know how much I need to give. They're going to expect all these things. Are those just false ideas that people have in their own brain about membership?
Some, and we also have people, unfortunately, have been badly hurt and have been abused, spiritually abused. And so they are very hesitant. I can see for a season, you might need to sit on the sidelines. If you were newer in a church and if you came out of a situation where you were very abused or deeply wounded or hurt, but ultimately that should not be that shouldn't be the end game. You really got to get back in or find a different church.
Yeah.
To sit on the sidelines, not serve, not join, and just come and take and leave is not biblical Christianity. I think everything in the New Testament, ecclesiology, screams out all in. And that, to me, that says membership.
So membership bar, you said, is low for members, but it's high for elders.
Leaders, yeah.
For leaders. Can you unpack that a little bit? What are some of the expectations of our elders, how we choose them, and what kind of process that we have in selecting our church leaders?
That's a good question. We have, it's an evolving system, but we have a leadership development process for our elders. When we look at choosing an elder, we don't want to take chances. And that would be true of leadership at any level at the church, but especially when you get to the, hiring staff, new pastor, new director, elders. So we have a number of different things. They're not always running, but they often are at some point. And we have a 101 class, we call it, that has been taught a number of times for prospective elders and wives. And then I teach a 2-year Grudem systematic theology that I invite guys into. In fact, tomorrow is going to be the last one for this 2-year pod that I'm just getting finished with.
Did you do the Grudems?
Yep.
He did Grudem. It's using Wayne Grudem's systematic theology for a 2-year study. It's about a 1,300-page beast.
They keep adding pages to it.
They do.
Each edition.
The new edition that came out added a lot in some areas. And
you also add chapters to it too.
I had about 7 or 8 white papers, things that Grudem could have done better job on, and so I just help him out a little bit or clarify. We also when we pair up new elders with former elders and wives, either current ones or ones that have served before. We have a 10-page questionnaire for anybody considering if their name is recommended as an elder and we think that they would be a good candidate. That's quite a thing to fill out.
10 pages.
10 pages, and ask everything. I mean, it asks, sometimes I have corporate people or people from the business world like, can we ask this? Like, yeah, we're a church. We should know their sexual preference. We should know, how they spend their money and their weekends and, all this kind of stuff. And then there's an interview process actually with their wife and with about sometimes anywhere from 4 to 6 people. Usually Becky and I, our current head elder and wife, former elder, perhaps and wife. And it's not an automatic. Mm-hmm. Even sometimes at that point, somebody will pull out or we'll say, yeah, not right now. We pray over it. We're really trying to listen for the Holy Spirit. Is this man and wife somebody God wants to add right now or not? And whether we do or don't, or whether they do or don't, it's not necessarily a statement of, well, that's not good. It's also a timing issue too for people and stuff. So it's a good process, and I think it's not perfect, but I think we vet, especially our elders, really well. And we have an incredible elder board and very healthy and just delightful to serve with these guys.
So obviously, very high bar. What is the role of our elders in our church?
Great question. That changes a bit as you get different sized churches. For instance, in Michigan, our church, when I went originally, when I was 30 years old, it was 90 people. So the elders were pretty much, I was the only staff guy. So the elders are pretty much hands on. They're like in operations because it's like, need everybody. As that thing grew over 23 years to 1,600, the elders' role changed significantly. So there's 5 Ds we talk about in the doctrinal, and then in the membership seminar, elders really biblically are in charge of dollars. I mean, they should be in charge of watching the finances in the church, direction of the church, discipline, church discipline, development, leadership development, and I'm missing the fifth D. But there's 5 of them, and the elders are really. I say their job is to build the sandbox and to watch over the church as a whole. It's the staff's role then to play in the sandbox and stay in those parameters that the elders have established and watch over and guard. Ultimately, the elders are accountable then to the congregation because we're a congregationally run church.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is all right now in preparation for our annual congregational meeting coming up in April, end of April.
One a year. That's the big one, and then we now have added a smaller one in October for either affirming the new members or actually we don't even affirm members anymore. I don't think in the meetings, but we usually handle a couple small items. Yeah, that one's usually after a church service.
Mm-hmm.
The one in April coming up will be Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
Do you ever have like the accusations, right? The accusation police come out where people are like, the elder board, it's just a bunch of yes men. They just do what you tell them to do.
I don't. Sure. I've had people ask all kinds of stuff like that. If to sit in one elder meeting would solve that, nobody in that room. To get all of us in unanimous agreement, which we are much of the time, but there's lots of opinions shared in that room, and and you have to remember. I was explaining this to a younger pastor this week. He was asking me about relating with an elder board. I said, remember, when any of you speak separately, you're sharing your opinion. The only time the elder board officially speaks is if they have decided something and it's an official declaration of the elder board. And it's just something good for all of us to remember. So, but in an elder meeting, yeah, there's opinions going all over the place. And I appreciate that. What you want is you want diversity, but you also want unity. You want unity on vision and direction and basic theological flavor. You want diversity when it comes to temperament, gifting, spiritual gifting, personality types. You want detailed people. You want big picture people. You've got spiritual gifting needs to be quite different as you go around the table. I think that's your healthiest elder boards.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not the one saying that, right? Like I think exactly what you said is really important. Being able to have multiple opinions in the room and ideas. That's how you can come to that good idea. If it's just one person and they're the end all be all, do it that way because I said so. I feel like that's where you start to fall apart.
You do. And I think we have a very healthy mix in that room. Those guys are competent, bright, godly, and none of them are yes men. And I don't pick the elders. When it comes around to suggesting new names, I can nominate somebody as much as anybody else. We discuss it then as an elder board and discuss whether we want to advance somebody's name and give them a questionnaire. And then the congregation ultimately votes on it. So I can probably say no to a name because I either know something or one of my pastors knows something about somebody. But I there's no way I can handpick, and I don't want to, and I shouldn't be able to.
I think it's great. I like our elder board.
Good group of guys,
yeah,
and wives.
It's a very good group of guys. Well, I'm going to ask a different question, and actually, it's going to go to both of you, and I want you both to answer this one. It's going to be in 2 parts.
Okay.
If you can choose the best place to get your French fries, which Bible character other than Jesus would you like to sit down and eat? Which French fry?
Which French fry?
And which character?
And which character? Either one of you.
Tony should go first.
Tony's going first.
Oh, man. Which French fry? I really like Five Guys French fries. Like if around here.
Absolutely.
And you get a lot of them. You're not going to run out. I mean, it's like the loaves and fish of French fries at Five Guys. It's just like an endless supply of French fries. Man, Bible character I'd like to sit down and eat with. I mean, I think Peter would be fun. The conversation wouldn't get slow. You know, he's going to fill all the silence in the room easily. You know, he speaks first, speaks the most, sometimes puts his foot in his mouth. And I think I can relate to that at times. I think it'd be a good conversation.
It'd be interesting. He's quite a character.
Yeah.
Five Guys and Peter. And who's yours, Jay?
I traditionally am a McDonald's French fries guy. I just, they're like catnip. They're like,
I've heard they put sugar in it. I don't know if it's true or not.
I don't know, but wow. But Five Guys, they have incredible. Yeah, when you only have to order one small fry and you get an entire bag of fries cooked in peanut oil, smothered in salt, that's hard to beat. So I would say that's pretty close. Sitting down with somebody, probably I'd pick somebody like Solomon. I would love to talk to the smartest man in the world, I guess he was called, and just pick his brain. Some of those choices you made. 700 wives, 300 concubines, which is concubine's a legal form of wife. 1,000 mother-in-laws. What is that like to have 1,000 mother-in-laws? And and why'd you do that? And what I mean, there's just so many questions I'd like to ask Solomon. So I love Ecclesiastes. I love Proverbs. I'd like to just talk with him. I think he'd be fascinating.
Solomon and McDonald's.
Solomon and McDonald's.
Doesn't get much better than that.
What about you, Doug?
Oh, you're gonna ask me?
Yeah.
To me, Five Guys. Yeah. To me, hands down, Five Guys is the best fries. If I'm going to choose somebody, it'd be David. I think because of his musician heart, and the guy gets leadership, and so I just kind of would like to shoot the breeze with him a little bit, chat.
Yeah. Don't get on his bad side.
No.
On his deathbed, and don't forget to bring down so and so.
That's funny. Hey, I'm going to ask this question probably almost every time that we meet, just to kind of find the flavor of what's happening in your lives a little bit. What are you feeding yourselves with? What's on your reading list right now?
Right now, I'm reading "Run Over by the Grace Train." It's all about
I don't know this
the
book.
grace of God,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's same pastor that I talked about, the same one with the hat, Joby Martin. He's in Florida, and it's all about how the grace of Jesus changes everything about everything. And the analogy he gets is like there's a mosquito that's flying past a train. And the train hits him, and all the mosquito can do is hold on for dear life. It has no control over anything. It's been run over, and it's moving in that direction. You can't stop it. And he says, if you walked into church late, and I said, why were you late? And you said, well, I got hit by a train. And your hair is done, and your clothes are clean, and there's not a scratch on you. I really don't believe you. Right? And there's nothing you can do once you get hit by that train. It just flattens you completely. And it's what knowing Jesus can do for you, right? Mm-hmm. Just knocks you out and changes you completely. And all you can do is hold on for dear life.
Great analogy.
Great. What are you reading, Jay? Or what are you not reading? All that
What am I not? Becky and I just finished Anne of Green Gables.
Okay.
I read it out loud to her at night.
Did you do the characters?
No.
Come on.
No, I didn't. Not really, no. But that's a good book. We read Farmer Boy before that. We're always reading a book out loud together. We're always listening to something on Audible together. We're listening to Legends and Lies by Bill O'Reilly right now, and David Fisher, and that's exceptional. I'm reading Plato's Republic right now, and just finished a big behemoth, about 900-pager on the history of the Reformation. That was just. I spent about a year. I slowly going through it with my devotional time.
Mm-hmm. That's your light reading.
It was, well, I don't know, it was light reading, but it was really good reading. And Joel Beakey has 4 volumes out on Christian heroes, and I just finished the 4th one. And I found those extremely nourishing. They're kind of aimed at a younger audience because they got pictures and stuff, but they're really well done. And I've just
Piper has done these narrative books on series on several different biblical characters, similar in tone, or
these are
deeper.
these are not biblical characters. Well, yeah, these are, he has 2 on Reformation heroes. Then I think he's got 2 on Puritan heroes. And those are, the last one covers up through R.C. Sproul.
Okay.
So, and then they go all the way back to like Augustine, some of the earlier volumes, and then Reformation people, especially I think most of it starts in Reformation and then goes up through the Puritans and then up to some modern day evangelical heroes. The last volume covered like G. Gresham Machen, Francis Schaeffer, David Martin Lloyd Jones, R.C. Sproul, and often has stuff that I've never seen before or heard of. So I find him really interesting writer.
Very good.
How about you? What are you reading?
Oh, what am I reading? I'm reading a book. Just started one. My daughter gave me a book at Christmas. I have a stack of books that I want to read. It just seems to get taller and taller. I took one off the top called Spirit-Filled Singing. A friend of hers was on a launch team for this book, and it correlates worship, actually singing in the life of the believer, with Galatians 5, looking at the fruits of the Spirit and how fruit of the Spirit, fruit of the Spirit as it informs our Christian walk. Leading Spirit-filled singing as well as the fruit of the Spirit incorporated in the life of the believer should lead to fruitfulness. And I'm just halfway through. So
you had a line recently that I really liked. I think you said you shouldn't sing anything you can't preach.
Oh yeah, we developed a philosophy of worship, or you could call it that, here for our church. And part of that is in how we select music and what music we sing. Do I choose music that's played on the radio? Do I choose something else? And I'm concerned about what are the exact words we're actually putting on the lips of our congregation that we're singing. And so if we can't preach a lyric, we shouldn't sing it, because unfortunately for you, Pastor Jay, people will remember lyrics before they'll remember what you say on Sunday morning. So
that's very true.
Sometimes that's what they're taking with them. And so I'm very conscious about what songs we sing on Sunday.
Forgot one other book I'm reading right now, Elijah in Jerusalem. And it's a sequel to Father Elijah. The best way to describe this is it's a Catholic version of Left Behind. I'm not sure how else to describe it. But it's written by a Roman Catholic author, Michael O'Brien. I've read a number of his novels, and Father Elijah is one of my favorite. It's a Carmelite priest in Israel called up by the Pope to confront Antichrist. It sounds weird. Becky's read it. I've read it a couple times. Well, this is the sequel that finally came out, Elijah in Jerusalem, and now he's a bishop, and he's now called back in to go confront the man of sin again in Jerusalem. And O'Brien just a really good writer. And I've probably people find this strange to read him, but I enjoy him. So
never heard of this one either.
It's good.
Well, you mentioned something about lyrics for music, asking me a question. So I understand that you like music. I've heard that you have experience as a young person as a lead singer in
This is not my fault.
band. Is this true? Can you tell me a little bit about? You've never told me this, so I'm.
Oh, that's not true.
That is very true.
I've never told you about my band.
No, tell me about your band.
I had a band. It lasted one night. Well, I mean, we had to practice a little bit, but so we had a band. I was about 17, 18 years old, and the name of the band was Nick Nasal and the Nasty Nose Pickers.
Can you say that again, please?
Nick Nasal and the Nasty Nose Pickers.
Who's Nick?
Is that on
Nick.
Is that on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify? Or
Probably not, but I do have video of it. And we actually made a film, and we played songs. I even wrote a couple of them, like Big Booger Blues. And the lyrics, not exactly Pulitzer Prize winning stuff, but we screamed, we yelled,
What was the outfit?
It was bizarre looking. Face paint. I looked like Captain America.
Face paint?
I actually had a Captain America hat on and red, white, and blue suit. My friend, who was a guitarist, who became a worship pastor, had on a shirt that it was cut out here, and he had chains across it. We all looked ridiculous. It sounded awful. We screeched, we yelled, I can't even play guitar. We were just strumming loudly. It was pathetic, but it was fun.
So the reason why I was asking, because we do have a audition process for our worship teams.
That's okay. You know what? A long time ago, I realized find your lane, stay in it. And that isn't my lane.
You really have never told me this. That's
really?
No, this is the first time I heard about it was today. So I wanted to ask you about it.
Well, okay. So here's the interesting part of the whole thing. We wanted to have flash pots so we could have explosions during our concert. And
for how many people was this concert?
There was my dad. We were at a farm, but we were filming it. So Dad, great. I don't know why he agreed to do all this because he put in a lot of time. But we asked around, how do we make flash pots? How do you go to these concerts, Rolling Stones, whatever? And there's these huge, like, I want one of those. Someone said, "Oh, ask a magician, a magician, because they use this for their performances. They use flash powder." Okay, so we went and found a local magician and asked him, "Do you have flash powder?" "Well, yeah, we just sell some." "Well, it's really dangerous stuff." "Oh, we know what we're doing." I've never handled flash powder. I was an 18-year-old ding dong, and so he against his better judgment, he put some in a little manila envelope and sold it to us for whatever. I had about the amount of a golf ball size, and you got to be really careful of this stuff. I mean, a burned out match can ignite it, and it burns white hot. It doesn't burn red hot. It burns white hot. This stuff is very dangerous. Oh, don't worry, we know what we're doing right. Went home, made this board, put a cigarette lighter mounted upwards, hooked to a battery charger, and put a tube around it. Like, okay, we're gonna pour some down in here. And then, and light and ignite the cigarette lighter, and then it'll, that was the theory. And so we did. We got this thing all hooked up and put some grains and hit the little cable. And nothing happened. It's like, well, that's kind of. So I go over and kind of stoop over the thing and like look down in there and like, how come nothing's happening? And so let's pour some more on it. And so I crouched down around it and I pour some more, and suddenly there must have been enough heat that the whole thing took. It ignited. I was only about 10 inches, and it went up into the bag, and the whole bag exploded. I was crouched down around this thing, my little invention, scorched the pavement, scorched my clothes, but the epicenter of the explosion was in my hand. And when I held up my hand, I'm not exaggerating, flesh was hanging off. It was absolutely wow. So I went into absolute shock. I went running in the house. All my dad said to this day, "You idiot! I told you to be careful of that stuff." And all I did was I needed a sink full of cold water, and I just plunged my hand in as he was yelling at me. And he was right. And I had second and third degree burns all over my right hand. It looked like an alien thing from outer space. It was hideous. And I could not take my hand out of water for all night next day, 15 to 17 hours. They took me to the emergency room, wrapped it up. The guy did after just 2 hours, and put some stuff on it. And I hardly got out the car, and I tore it all off, put it back in the water. The next day, my hand was bloated after 17 hours in water and having second to third degree burns. And I took it out, and it just looked absolutely hideous. And he told me, the ER doc said, "You will have scars the rest of your life on that hand. I'm sorry, but it's perfect." So that all came out of Nick Nasal.
I have never heard this story.
One of the dumbest things I ever did in my life. I could have easily blinded me. It could have killed me. It was absolutely stupid. I had a number of those as teenagers. I'm sure you guys did too. And it's amazing. I was going down a hard-packed gravel road one day, and I grew up riding motorcycles, and we had dirt bikes, and I thought, I wonder what happens when you hit all the brakes at once. I was 17, and I was flying. I was going about 40, and I thought, how fast will this thing stop? So I slammed down the foot brake, the two hand brakes, found out it stops really fast.
But you don't.
I didn't stop fast. I kept going. And I just remember bouncing down the road like a rag doll with the bike behind me, flopping and flipping. And had several of these kind of things growing up, and it was just some of us are slower to learn in life. I jumped off my parents' balcony one time, a motel balcony, into a ice pile to see what would happen, and that was really stupid. So, and it didn't stop even when I became a pastor. One time at age 35, I was on a friend's trampoline at a farm, and I thought it was midnight, and Becky was in talking to her friends, and I thought, oh no, I'm just going to bounce the trampoline. I don't know how I can get in this thing. I was 35 years old, 3 kids. I was pastor. I bounced, and I thought, wow, this is really, I'm just getting really, really high. I'm just going up and down, up and down. I'm higher and higher. It's midnight outdoors. All of a sudden, I just went flying off, hit the ground. I heard my ribs crack. I felt like someone rammed a hot spear through my. I crawled into the house, moaning in agony, and so.
Now, was Becky sympathetic to this? Because
she's amused. She was obviously, she's wondering what happened. Yeah,
wondering what happened and being sympathetic are two totally different things.
Okay. She's
my opinion. I can see her being a lot like your dad. You idiot! What were you thinking? It's midnight on a trampoline.
She was. I don't remember. She's never been harsh, but I think she thought it was pretty stupid. I had broken ribs. The next 6 weeks were miserable, and never do that again. So I fear trampolines. So I'm slow to learn.
So you're going to laugh. One of the questions that somebody had submitted was, what is the most epic shenanigan you've ever been a part of, Pastor Jay? And I didn't even have to ask the question. It just went there.
I think I just... Sure.
Isn't that funny?
The only other time I really injured my hand was on the same hand. I was 39, playing King of the Mountain with my kids on Thanksgiving Day on monkey bars at their local school. And it was the Lions. The Detroit Lions always play, and we were wasting some time before the Lions game came on. Went down to our local school, which is just down the corner. This is Michigan. And I got up on top of the monkey bars, one of these rounded things that's like 5 feet at the top. And I just said, all right, everybody come at me. Some of my kids are all coming up at me, and I was doing great. I was literally standing on top of this thing, fighting them off, and my toe got caught. And I went flying off these things. Almost 40 years old, landed, and there was wood chips. Normally, like, you could jump and you land. I didn't, and I landed on my right thumb, and it snapped backwards.
Yep.
And I didn't know that, except I got up and I was in a lot of pain, and I looked, and my thumb was like went off in different directions. I was like, Becky's like, I said, that hurts. And I said, you guys just stay here. I'm going to walk back to the house. It was only 2 blocks. I'm going to get some ibuprofen. So I did, and I came back, and she's like, you don't look very good. I said, that doesn't matter. The Lions are playing. We're going back to the house. We're watching the game. She said, sweetheart, you don't look good. I said, I'm not going to sit in the emergency room for the next 4 hours. Well, let's go see George. George is a close friend of ours. He's a colorectal surgeon.
I was going to say, I know who this person is.
And
he doesn't look at thumbs.
Yeah, he doesn't normally look at thumbs. So I called George on Thanksgiving Day. He said, George, I fell on my thumb. Could you look at it? I know it's not your normal area of expertise, but
I'm sure he'd rather look at your thumb
than my bum. So I said, yeah. So he did, come on over. So we went over to George and Teresa's, and he looked at it and went, that didn't look good. You need to go see the hospital. And I was like, I don't want to go to the hospital. So I did. Another doc in our church happened to be on call that day, and he x-rayed it. And he's an orthopedic surgeon. Called me that night. He said, well, I said, all I want to know is, I don't need surgery, do I? He said, I said, is it broken? He said, I wouldn't use the word broken. He said, it's powdered. Powdered? What's powdered? It's like Humpty Dumpty. It's shattered inside there. The x-ray, it's in like 1,000 pieces. Like, oh. Because when George and I finished, we put a popsicle stick on it and wrapped it with duct tape. And he's like, "You're an idiot." So he finally he cut it open for full surgery, and absolutely put it all back together with pins and screws and drilled holes, and that was a fun 5 or 6 week period. Wow, that hurt.
There's a gospel lesson there, isn't
There's
there?
something.
There's something there. Like you can try to put it back together. You can wrap your life with popsicle sticks and duct tape and do all you can, but
You can't do it. And it's never as good as, I mean, it's amazing what he did get back together again, and that it still works. But it's still cold, and it's 25 years later or whatever. It's amazing that I have my thumb.
those people that say, I can fix myself. I can get myself out of this.
You can't fix yourself.
Yeah. And he had to fix you from the inside.
And he had to fix you from the inside. Yeah. Yeah. So
You have a whole sermon worked up.
There we go.
Well, I love the format for Ask Pastor Jay because it's everyday people that get to ask questions. And this question comes from a child who honestly asks, I think with great wisdom, this question right here. It's going to set off a theme of several questions now on the topic of forgiveness. Here's this child's question. If God forgives me for all my sins, why is it necessary to continue to ask as Jesus demonstrates in the Lord's Prayer?
that is a very sweet question. I mean, I can sense the sincerity in it. That's really precious. A good analogy, I think, would be when you sin against your parents, there's a difference between their forgiveness of you and you asking for or apologizing to them. So this child is exactly right. If somebody is born again, the moment they're saved, they are fully justified. It's a one-time forensic legal declaration from the Lord. Christ's righteousness is imputed to them. Their sins imputed to Christ. And it's done. They are forgiven. Past, present, future, all sin. And that's what the gospel is so amazing. It's not just past sin. It's everything they will ever do. Think, any motive, everything. Why then do I still need to confess? Because often our confessions are, Lord, please forgive me for this. And we even phrase it that way. And the reason I think in Scripture is because there is a breach when we sin against God. Even though we were forgiven, we do need to go back and humble ourselves and express sorrow and make sure and repair the, so to speak, the relationship. Just like if I sin against my parents, the issue is not, did my mom and dad forgive me? There's still something that needs to be done. I do need to go back and say, I'm sorry for what I did against you. And it should have no bearing on them forgiving me. They probably already did forgive me. I still, until I do that, same thing with a spouse. Until I do that, Becky forgives very easily. I still need to go back and apologize, make things right, because there's broken fellowship at that point. And that's different than forensic forgiveness.
Yes.
And so it's a great question. And a lot of people ask it. And it has to do with the relationship being broken in fellowship, not forgiveness per se to God and justification.
So several years ago, you requested that our Sunday morning prayer times also include a time of confession. And we've been doing this for the last 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
That came from you specifically. Why do we need that confession time corporately in our worship services?
Good question, because number one, the history of the church has included that in most liturgies, and I realized we were remiss. And number two, it is good to have a time in the service where we reflect on our sin, either that we're saved and we're thankful, or that we're not, or that we are and we have sin in our life and we didn't, and we make sure that we confess. So I use a prayer book, and I like the way it phrases it. Ask the Holy Spirit to show you any unconfessed sin and thank him for his forgiveness. And I've used that prayer book since the mid-90s. And I like the phrasing because it doesn't say ask for forgiveness. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you identify unconfessed sin, confess it, and thank the Lord for his forgiveness. So it's an acknowledgement you're already justified, but there was a breach of fellowship and you are wanting to make things right. So, and it's just a good reminder to a congregation, we're sinners. And make sure you, as you're sitting here today, part of our worship to the Lord is making sure you have owned up to anything you've done to the Lord.
I appreciate that time. There for like 3 months straight, my confession was the same every Sunday. And it was, God, forgive me for not spending enough time with you and being in your word enough. Like I'm doing all the things that I want to do and that I have time for. Forgive me for not doing this, not giving you the time that you deserve. And for 3 months, I didn't change anything about what I was doing. I was just like the same prayer and confession over and over and over again. And I think what's good about it is like the Spirit convicts you then, right? Like the conviction is there. I know I'm doing something wrong. Now it's up to me to take a step in obedience and make a change in my life.
I like that.
And so I realized that like I never missed a workout, but I missed prayer time every day. Like, so my priorities were out of whack.
You didn't miss the physical workout.
Yeah.
Oh.
So my priorities were out of whack. And so what I had to decide is like, I need to get up earlier. Like it's just non-negotiable. If I really want this to change, I have to change my priorities, my schedule and do the thing. So
what time do you get up now?
4:30.
Start your devotional routine.
Yeah.
Or get everything done.
So 4:30, I get up, go downstairs, do a devotional, and then I'm reading the chronological Bible. And then,
Good.
and then, so it's like usually 2 chapters. And then we started, a friend of mine and I started a Bible plan online with people. So we started Discord and we've got like 50 people that are joining with us and reading along with us. So it gives me a time to like process everything and then journal and write and engage. And so that goes for about an hour and a half. And then I'll go downstairs and work out and then finish my day. But the asking for forgiveness part allows me to check myself also and also forgive myself because God forgives me. I need to also recognize I need to forgive myself in that thing. And
he forgave you.
Yes.
When you were converted.
Yes.
But I don't forgive myself
Yeah.
a lot of times. And it's good to acknowledge the stuff that I got going on and say it out loud and identify what that sin is so that I can fix it. Otherwise, it's just like, God, forgive me for the stuff that I do that you don't like. Let's blanket. It's just like, you got to identify what that is.
No, that's really good.
So we instruct our people, if they're leading in prayer, to actually to mentally count to 30 in their head to allow a full 30 seconds of silence during our prayer time. And that is quite uncomfortable for some who are not
I have
used
found
to
that that's hard for our people, even our leaders, to do that.
I would say that we need the full 30 seconds because our pastors need the time to fess up.
Yeah. I would say we need the full 30 seconds because like sometimes the prayer keeps going and I'm like, I'm not listening to you now. I'm still in my confession mode. Like I'm not done.
There was a service not too long ago where I was praying and I did it 60.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed, I actually use my second hand on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
And on Sundays, I always wear a watch that I can see the face. And it felt like forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, no, I am determined to wait 60 seconds until I say another word. And it's good. It's a good thing in our culture because Americans don't stop and we are not silent. And those are,
and we have constant noise. We always have distractions going on.
Well, part of our AWANA verse is if you say that you don't sin, then you're lying to yourself. Like if you can't come up with a minute of confession, then you're lying to yourself.
Problem is we need about 5 minutes each.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
So I have several different questions still related on forgiveness. That seems to be a popular topic for people to submit questions in. Here's another question. How am I to forgive someone who won't talk to me or acknowledge any wrong? Is this possible?
That's boy, is that a common question? That's a really good question. Again, let's separate forgiveness from fellowship and the relationship. So somebody wrongs us as a Christian, I am instructed to forgive them. That's separate from whether they'll talk to me or not. So there are probably all of us have broken relationships, unfortunately, in our lives where there is no longer fellowship with somebody. And that's separate from my forgiveness of them or their forgiveness of me. So I can think of a handful of people over the course of several decades of ministry that won't talk to me. And I think sin pretty egregiously against me in either church discipline situations from previous churches or whatever, and never repented and even died. And I have to forgive them. If I'm walking around 30 years later, 20 years later, 10 years later, is what they did evil? Yeah, a couple of them. They did some really evil stuff and never repented, as far as I could tell. That's completely separate from Jay forgiving them.
Mm-hmm.
And forgiving is saying, I'm not holding this against you. God has forgiven me. What right do I have not to forgive you for what you did? Even if you don't acknowledge it, even if you won't talk to me, even if you steadfastly refuse to repent, that's a completely separate thing, because if I don't do it, I will be poisoned. Absolutely poisoned. And it is scary and sad how many people sit in Bible preaching churches who are bitter. And they call it everything but there's a lot of bitter people who sit in pews and chairs every Sunday in churches, and it's sad because it poisons them, it poisons their families. And you're saying, I'm going to take one of the worst days of my life and I'm going to camp there, and then I'm going to take my whole family and we're all going to camp there. And it's so destructive.
So this question is nuanced even a little bit further on some similar idea. If someone commits a great sin against us, may it still rightly be called forgiveness if we forgive them, but then keep an arm's length away from them. I guess it could be nuanced. Is restoration necessary for true forgiveness?
No, that's a good question. You can forgive somebody if the person has not repented, and if they're still being, say, abusive, or they're still toxic. You really need to talk to a Christian leader about the wisdom of re-engaging with them. Whether they're a parent, or a sibling, or a friend, or a church leader, whatever, especially if you're related to them and they're relative. If somebody, for instance, abused somebody sexually or verbally or physically, and never showed any contrition or remorse, and you now realize I got to forgive them and go through that process of working through forgiveness, is it an automatic then you're going to have a relationship with them again? And the answer is no, it's not an automatic. That's the hope and prayer. But it may not, after talking to godly leaders, it may not be wise to necessarily have a relationship with them again. It really depends on some factors. And one of them is that they aren't toxic anymore and aren't dangerous.
One of the things in the book talked about the idea of forgive and forget, because it is about grace. And he said, you forgive, but you don't forget. Like there's no point. You can't forget it. You have to remember it. And in remembering it, you also remember that God has forgiven you for all that you've done. There's no benefit in forgetting that thing. Right? I can forgive you, but I think it's safe to say, like, you have to be cautious in this situation of what you've just experienced and not foolishly run back into that thing.
Especially if the person isn't repentant. And there are, unfortunately, evil people around who do evil things and aren't the least bit sorry. And to run back into a relationship with them could be very destructive. So you really need, and again, you really need godly counsel at that point. Yeah, I would talk to some godly people you trust, some leaders, a pastor, an elder, some mentors around you that you trust, and get their input.
Is forgiveness a feeling or an action?
Yes. But it's ultimately an action that feelings will follow. One of the easiest ways to know you haven't forgiven somebody is you're having conversations when they're not around.
Yeah.
When you're mowing the lawn and you're rehearsing it over and over out loud, and you're actually talking to them, not just talking about it, but you're talking to them. That's a classic sign to me that I got some work I got to do here to get this out of my soul.
I find myself, when I am mowing the lawn, having those conversations in my head that I'm the one who wins the argument then.
Oh, I always win the argument. Sure. I can always prove my point, nail it home. Yep.
This is a question that came in from a little girl, and I could hardly make out the writing, but she asked this question: did Jesus forgive Judas after he betrayed him?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because to not would be sinful. So Jesus forgave him before, during, and after. Chose him after praying all night.
Yes, he did.
He chose a devil. A devil. So that's always encouraged me that, wow, I lose somebody once in a while, or somebody goes off and after you've invested in them, and it's like, well, Jesus, he also had one that turned on him. So
I think that's really encouraging in a number of ways, right? Like there's how many examples in the Bible where somebody wrongs somebody else.
Lots.
Yeah, and God uses it. Like
yes.
God intends for it, right?
Yes.
Like what you intended for evil, God intended for good. And it doesn't mean that the thing is pleasant.
No.
But what can you learn from it, and how can God be glorified through it, and what does that actually look like? Does it suck in the moment? Yeah, it really does. Like, being hated by your brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, accused of rape, put in jail. All those things are awful. And for any of those things, you could think like, I'm not going to forgive this person. Do you know what they did to me? But instead you look at it and you go, God used every single one of those things intentionally to get to where we needed to be for their good and for his glory. And it's amazing. And without forgiveness, you don't get that.
No. It's not easy to forgive people who've hurt you deeply, especially if they were intentional about it. And they meant to hurt you. And there's one thing to forgive somebody who didn't intend it. But if somebody really plotted and set out to destroy you, which happens occasionally in life, that's a hard thing to work through. But it's critical. And if you don't, you will poison yourself, and you'll poison everybody around you you love.
Can I ask, so with forgiveness, what are the stages of that? Right? So like somebody wrongs you. It's not an immediate thing that you forgive that person. A lot of times, right? Is it wrong to tell yourself that you forgive them and start walking in that, saying like, I forgive you? You may not be there yet. Is that lying to yourself? Is it lying to the person? Or is that just part of that process?
Ultimately, it is a decision you have to make. I think you have to get angry first. If you haven't gone through the phase of anger, I don't think you're going to get to health. I don't think the anger it shouldn't last real long. But I mean, there's natural anger. If somebody really did something to you, there's going to be, you probably have to work through some shock. Again, it depends on what it is and how long it went on. So much depends on that. But it is. I've told people a number of times who've undergone long-term abuse. You're not just going to flip a switch, but you do need to make a decision that you want to start working on this, and you need to ask God to help you, and ask some godly people around you to pray for you, and probably fast and pray. I remember one gal years and years ago who just hated her father. I shared about it recently, I think in a sermon, and she just visceral hatred. I will never forgive her. And I said, until you at least make the choice and say, I need to forgive him, I'm going to try. I said, you're going to say poison. At least, you got to say, okay, I know I'm called to forgive. I'm going to at least today turn this direction and say, by God's help, I'm going to start this process. I said, God will honor that. And it may take a long time, but at least you're making an attempt to do what you know is biblical.
I had a business partner went south, really, really south. And I kept saying, I forgive this person. But every time anything about that business came up, I was right back to angry. Yeah. And I kept saying, no, I forgive that person. I forgive that person. And then I remember the moment he told me, I found out that they were having their first kid. And I was really, really happy for him. Yeah. And I called him and I gave him some encouragement. I was like, oh, I'm over it. Like, I've forgiven him. That's great. But it took like almost convincing myself for a long time and just having to repeat that. Like, I forgive them. I forgive them. I forgive them. And it was hard, but I knew when it was done.
It's an incredible feeling.
But it had to begin with a choice first.
It has to begin with a choice.
That's why I asked the question: is an action or a feeling? And so oftentimes it is a long time. Just, I'm going to make that choice. I'm going to make that choice. Going to make that choice. And God
over and over and over again.
God may grant that feeling then after a while. But
you've had to forgive some people.
Sure. I don't know anybody who hasn't.
But as a Christian leader,
sure,
three of us are leaders. We're lightning rods, for better or worse. And sometimes people come after us and it's not personal, but it is personal. And just being a leader, you have people attack, and sometimes they can get pretty nasty, and you have to work through that. Otherwise,
and it's hard not to make it personal.
Yeah.
I have to constantly, okay, this is them. I have to be careful of my heart, and that's why I need 30 seconds on Sunday morning to fess up. 60 seconds.
a couple minutes.
Yes. Hey, I want to change course here. It was 6 days ago that the United States and Israel attacked Iran. I didn't want to miss the chance here to talk about current events, things that are happening in our world. I'm just curious, Jay, what are some of your thoughts right now as we've just not even had 1 week of watching the news, so to speak? What are your thoughts, and what should our response as believers be as we are watching the news?
That's a good question. Many levels to that. I heard the news at the membership seminar that we were talking about a few minutes ago. So I pulled it up my phone and I saw it right before. No, my brother texted me. That's what it was. Right before the seminar started.
Your brother, the pastor.
Yeah, my brother's a pastor of Virginia Beach. He texted out to our family, we're at war with Iran, Israel, and America. And I saw it. And then I got it at the membership seminar. And I decided to mention it in the membership seminar as I opened. And I said, I don't know if you all seen the news this morning, but it's pretty epic. And I said, I think we should, as I'm opening in prayer, I think we should pray for our military personnel. I said, my brother texted me this information this morning. He has Navy SEALs and stuff in his church. Some of their families don't even know where they're deployed. But my brother knows he has people in his church that are going to be on the front lines in different places. So it really affected their church personally because they're in Norfolk. But I thought it's a good thing to pray if anytime you're in this kind of situation, to pray for military personnel for God's protection, for the gospel to be spread. One of the things we know about Iran is it's one of the places the church has been growing the fastest the last number of years. And I think one of the things Christians need to pray is for the gospel to spread in time like this. That's separate from my thoughts about Iran. Iran has been a bully in that neighborhood for almost 50 years. Toxic. I mean, just a toxic regime. So there's, obviously lots of discussions about, is it right to take out a head of state and all this stuff? And I don't know the legalities of all that. We typically haven't done that, but they are the largest, I think, world supporter of terrorism on this planet. And how long, I don't know the answer. How long do you let a nation like that continue to call you evil and the great Satan and continually try to destroy you? And chanting at the same time, Israel should be obliterated from the face of the planet, they're parasites. And they put everything into that process for almost 50 years. And before you realize, you know what, this is a dangerous country, a dangerous regime. I certainly don't know when it's time to take them out. But I thought President Trump was remarkably candid. What's the worst case scenario? He said that somebody just as bad is put back in place. Mm-hmm. But at least we would be 4 or 5 maybe years down the road having stayed them from developing nuclear weapons and stuff. We certainly don't want a regime like that to have nuclear weapons. So, what about you? When you heard the news, what was your 10-second reaction? I've been asking people this week. What was your 10-second reaction as you look at your phone Saturday morning? What was your first initial gut?
It's about time. He'd just been an evil actor on the world scene, and it was about time somebody did something about it.
10-second reaction Saturday morning?
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, the thing about him is he's going to do the thing that he says he's going to do. People say he's, you don't know what to expect. You just expect that he's going to do the thing he said he was going to do.
Because he's not a politician.
Yeah.
He's not a politician.
Yeah.
He acts first, and then he's like, oh, what I just did, what's that going to happen? What's going to be the fallout?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of scary things about it overall. Who knows how many people may already be in this country looking to do the next thing. I'm not a fear monger kind of a person. But it's in motion and the thing is already happening. We can't worry about it now. It's here. It's happening. Stuff is happening. So like you were saying, you pray for our service members, pray for the people in Iran that are believers that are in the underground church, pray for the people of Israel that they come to know Jesus, right? Through all of it. And the act is the act, right? The scripture is filled with wars and battles and eliminating people who worship false gods and everything else. And God's in control of it.
It is going to hurt Israel in one sense. I mean, there's as we're recording this, there's a church in Lake Geneva right now. It's got a tour group stuck over there.
Yes.
March and November are like primo tour months. Anytime Becky and I have led a tour to Israel, teaching tour, we always go in March. It's perfect weather. It's perfect in Galilee. It's perfect in Judean mountains. It's just perfect. So March right now, I have to believe there's all kinds of tour groups that were just all in the queue, ready to go. And they live on tourism over there, and especially the vendors and the hotels and the restaurants and all those places. They live on tourism. And so this will be another massive blow after COVID and stuff especially in March, to their country. But they clearly chose this timing on purpose and knew that timing was probably critical.
Yeah. Our God is called the Ancient of Days.
Yep.
We sing a song about kingdoms rising and falling, but our confidence is not in the world. It's in God. And he's consistent, and we can trust him. And he's good.
All the time.
I'm thankful he's sovereign.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So the Israelites are going through the desert, and they're always complaining that they don't have food. Like, this is a real question. They're always complaining that they don't have food.
You talking about during the Exodus?
Like in
the
numbers.
40 years.
In numbers, yeah, the 40 years.
40 years. Well, they did have food. They had manna and quail.
Right. But they also had all the livestock. Were they not supposed to eat any of the livestock except for sacrifices?
I don't know how much livestock they had out in the desert. I mean, I don't.
I mean, it seems like they had a lot because every time there was a sacrifice, they had to kill more animals.
What do they feed them?
I don't know, but
that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, no, the answer is they're allowed to eat livestock. Yes.
So I'm reading through this, and they're like grumbling to grumble at this point. I feel like you've got buffalo and cows and goats and sheep.
It sounds like all they had was manna and quail. Ultimately, I mean,
but you had to sacrifice those things when you.
Yeah, they're supposed to, an ideal situation, but they were nomads wandering in the desert. So I don't know.
Were they sacrificing for the 40 years?
I don't know. They were under discipline and punishment. So were they? We don't have a ton of information what the 40 years in the desert, what their provisions were and what their resources were. Yeah. Except that God had to keep providing this manna and the quail.
And the 3 feet of quail.
Yeah, they got sick of quail and manna.
The other thing I never really in my brain, I thought it's a group of people. Right? It's just a group of people. It's like 3 Crystal Lakes. Like I was looking at it today, the amount of people that were walking.
Oh, minimally
was minimally.
Estimates range upwards of 500,000 to 1 million.
Yeah,
it is a lot of people.
I just never. It never registered in my brain when you're looking at these people how much.
Plus, they've been creating through the whole 40 years, so they just keep multiplying and multiplying and multiplying.
So I looked it up.
True, they would just typically count just the males or the heads.
That was not uncommon, so that's why we don't know for sure.
We don't have the exact numbers, so it could be
thousands,
3-4 times that number.
Well, and today was numbers, and so the people 20 years or older was 600 and something thousand, which is Boston.
And that's probably and we don't know if that's just males. That's just about 20.
And if it was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 million, that's the city of Chicago. And to have that as like the parade everywhere they're going,
a lot of parade,
and thinking, what? I just never put those numbers together.
Need a lot of porta potties.
Yeah, I never put those numbers together and what that looks like of everybody like file in, file out, set up the thing, do this, do that.
There's no loudspeakers.
Just doing the census.
How do you do the census? How do you send a message to the back of the crew? Pick it up.
Yeah. Like we couldn't, as a church, we had a hard time getting people to update the membership directory and take a new picture. And they know exactly how many people were there with every group of 20-year-olds and older. It's like, how do you do this? These are the things I think about when I'm reading the Bible. Like, now these are the things I think about. I picture it in my brain, and these things, sometimes they make me laugh. Like when the 3 feet of quail comes, like people that don't think that God has a sense of humor, it just blows my mind because he's like, you want meat? You want meat? I'll give you some meat. You're going to have so much meat, it's going to come out your nose. Like literally, that's what he's saying. And then 3 feet of meat tall, quail falls from the sky. And these people go, that looks good. Let's eat that.
It's a lot of plucking of feathers.
It's a lot of plucking of feathers. Yeah. Yeah. Would you lead us in prayer, Pastor Doug or Tony?
I would love to. I'd love to. Father, I ask for your blessing on this. And we have no idea who is going to be impacted by this. In these conversations, would you use it for your purposes and for your glory, not ourselves? We don't want to be the focus. We want Christ to be the focus, and help us to make more of Jesus through these podcasts, and ask your blessing to go before the production of this. Use it, we pray, in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Doug.
Guys.
Thank you, Tony.